back fully equipped. Just J-Wall and Serial Killer this week. That's it.
It's a lonely week.
Buddy, how we doing?
Too good for us this week.
Well,
Man, I'm doing great. Great. I just spent the long holiday weekend up in Vegas. Lost a pile of cash, had a good time, but it's been a few years since I've been up to Vegas, and I got to tell you, I mean, it is ever changing, ever growing, and I don't know about you and the last time you were there, but I did not recall every meal for two people costing a minimum of $100. You go to breakfast, it's $100. You go to lunch, it's $100.
In Vegas,
it's just like
I thought everything was free.
That's what I thought. It was like, not only do they charge you $12 million worth of resort fees and parking fees and fees for this and fees for that, but then they needle you with the food costs too, because it's like, oh, you want a protein bowl for breakfast? That's $37. Oh, you wanted a beverage with that other than water? Yeah, it's another $17. Like, dude, it was brutal.
Just tell them you're going to lose that money anyway at the table. Just
they don't care.
Let me keep it in my pocket for right now. Give me my free food.
Have figured out that you are still going to lose that money at the table, regardless of how much they needle you for food. So they just get the daggers in you every which way possible. Man,
what's your game of choice?
Anything that prolongs the inevitable loss. So my
the slow burn.
That's it. So I learned how to play Pai Gow years ago. And so now I hang out on the Pai Gow tables because, mathematically, like 50% or so of your hands push. And I know we're going to get checked on that. It's like, actually, it's 48%, but whatever. And
we'll see how many Pai Gow aficionados we have to listen to.
Oh, yeah, there's Pai Gow enthusiasts out there, I guarantee you. But that has been the game of choice, because it is the slow bleed. So I can sit there, I can play cards. You actually get to touch the cards, which I do enjoy. Don't know why, but it's just something about actually being able to hold the cards in my hand as they, bleed me out of money. So that's no
fun.
It's a game of choice.
Just put it all on red.
Oh, the wheel
minute
of death.
You step in, yep, just wheel of death, all on red. See what happens.
I mean, I've played that game.
If you win, great. You're leaving Vegas with money. If not, you're out.
Yeah, just one and done. Out of there. No big deal.
Oh my god.
No, but it was a fun weekend. It was looking at the credit card statements after the weekend. I was like, "Ooh, this is a little more than I remember."
Yeah,
it'd been a few years, but
it's not the old Vegas that we remember.
No more $10 buffets and filet mignons and champagne raining from the ceilings. No, none of that.
That's highly disappointing. You know what is not disappointing? That would be Nikon's Cool Shot Pro 2 stabilized rangefinder that you somehow stole from me. I actually gave it to you. You didn't steal from me.
It's in the bag.
I should probably just say, Nikon, thank you for sponsoring the podcast. Appreciate them. The Cool Shot Pro 2 Stabilized is Nikon's high-performance stabilization system that's designed to reduce vibrations of the image in the viewfinder caused by hand movements. This technology provides a more precise reading, giving the user more confidence in their game. And you've used it, right? I mean, what's been your take so far on the rangefinder?
The clarity and the brightness of that display is no joke. So, I mean, obviously out here in the Southwest and in the desert with like clouds and rain and overcast days are few and far between. So it is, especially this time of year, intense heat and just oppressive sun. Oh, the clarity and the optic in that rangefinder is phenomenal. And there's so much going on. And like you were kind of saying, the tech that they have built into this guy is great. So, I mean, it locks onto the target and you can shoot a variety of different targets. And with all of the display features that it has, and you know what you're shooting, which is key. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone and been feeling a little aggressive going into a par 5 and maybe shot something just off the back of the green and then inevitably flush that shot and watch it go sailing over the back of the green. And I don't know about you, but I haven't had very many positive experiences with going long on any green, let alone a par 5.
Yeah. Going for a par 5 and 2 is a game with which I'm unfamiliar, but It's good to see that one of us is still taking risks. I'm just trying to keep it in the short grass.
Well, I mean, when you play from the red tees, you get a few out there.
Hey, tee at 4, buddy. That's it.
That's just for pace.
Makes the game more fun.
That's it.
Yeah. So as Kris mentioned, the crystal clear OLED display, it has red graphics, which we talked about recently, that provide that ideal contrast in all lightings, and the dual locked-on echo technology that has a green lit circle, and it also emits an audible sound to let you know that it's locked onto the flagstick or whatever target you're trying to hit out there in the distance, whether it is a flagstick or a bunker or what it is to clear a bunker. It also has a hyper-read technology. It gives the user a fast and accurate measurement response regardless of the distance. They say it's approximately 0.3 seconds. And it has a incline-decline technology, and this is really cool for those of you that play on golf courses that have some pretty substantial undulation. This is a slope-adjusted distance in addition to the actual distance. So if you're shooting it to an elevated putting surface, it's going to give you the actual number, taking into account the elevation, as opposed to just giving you the stock number. If you want to learn more about Nikon's Cool Shot Pro 2 Stabilized Rangefinder, go to Nikon's website or check it out on fairwayjockey.com. And thanks again to Nikon for being a sponsor of the pod. Well, we're spending another podcast talking about Scottie Scheffler. The man just will not quit.
No, let's say rightfully so. I mean, it's just been impressive to say the least. It's not flashy,
nope.
But his scoring average. Did you see this? He overtook Tiger for his scoring average.
Yeah.
I mean, had a scoring average 68.01. Tiger was 68.17. And Scottie's like, yeah, no big deal. I'm just going to edge that out as I continue to win millions and millions of dollars. Like, guy is a machine.
Yeah, he's a machine for sure. He's got that, like, remember when Kuchar was just printing checks? I mean, he wasn't winning a whole bunch, but he was just finished. He was like a top 10 machine.
Yeah.
Even before Kuch, it was probably Scott Hoke. And there are these guys out on tour that are just so damn consistent. You know they're going to finish in the top 10. Sometimes it's a backdoor top 10. Most weeks it's not. They're just hanging around. Scheffler takes that to another level.
Totally.
He had 7 wins. I would say that it is as you mentioned, with his scoring average, it's the most impressive season we've seen since Tiger's 2000 season. Now, I want to ask you, because this is the big debate, which would you rather have? Would you rather have Scottie season or Xander Schauffele season? Because Schauffele won 2 majors.
Yeah.
Scheffler has a gold medal. He won a major. He also won the FedEx Cup, depending on how you weight the FedEx Cup.
Right.
But which one are you taking?
I mean, I'd have to take Scheffler. I mean, I know Xander's got 2 majors, but at the same time, like the gold medal thing is just cool for me. I would love to be able to go represent my country and be able to win a gold medal in my sport. And Xander had an absolutely amazing year and would only be challenged by Scottie Scheffler. But I mean, if I'm on the fence between the two, for me, the gold medal in the Olympics is going to be the one that kind of nudges me to that side and says, yeah, if I'm picking between the two, taking the Scottie Scheffler year.
Yeah. Man.
What about you?
I would probably take Schauffele.
Yeah.
I mean, the gold medal is tough because it's not something that you can just go and win every year.
Right.
You have to qualify for the Olympics. Then you've got to play well. There's no guarantee, even if you're the best player in the world, that you're going to play well that week.
Right.
So it's tough because maybe I weight the gold medal almost like a major. So in that sense, Scottie's got 2, but it's so difficult. I would take Xander's. Winning 2 majors in 1 year is so impressive, especially in this day and age where it's so difficult to just win out on the PGA Tour. And I think that's, again, what makes Scottie's season so impressive is just the fact that every single week that he's going out there, he's got just loaded fields. And I know some people might disagree, because Liv took some of the big names. But it is still the PGA Tour, and a lot of these young guys are really good. You look at some of the college kids. It used to just be a big deal for the college kids to make the cut. And now we're seeing some of them contend week in and week out. I mean, who's the kid from Florida State?
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Maybe
anyway,
producer Mark has the name. I see his face.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names. I'm a face guy.
Anyway, that kid was, I mean, Luke Clanton. I was like,
I wouldn't have come up
Claxton.
Samsonite. I was way off.
I was like, man, it's Claxton, but I'm like, it's not Nick Claxton. Shout out basketball reference there.
There you go.
But yeah, these kids are so good. So my point is that it is so difficult to just win out on the PGA Tour, and Scottie somehow had 7 wins this year. So yeah, but I would still take Schauffele even with the majors. I weight the majors heavier than the 7 wins.
So would you take Rory's season or would you take Ted Scott's season?
Probably Teddy's.
There you go.
I should probably go back and look at how much money he made this year.
It was something like $6 million.
So how many guys does that beat on the money list for the year?
Well,
that's the other question. We should have the answers to this, but we're just riffing.
Yeah, I saw a graphic that Ted Scott's earnings this year eclipsed Jack Nicklaus's career earnings. So I mean, you put that in perspective, and you go, so he made more money this year looping for Scheffler than Jack Nicklaus did as a professional his entire career. Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, speaking of Scheffler, I wonder, I was doing his winner's bag from the Tour Championship, and just quickly go through it. He's TaylorMade QI10 with Fuji Ventus Black 7X in the driver. I wrote a big story. I probably should repost it, but I did a big deep dive with Adrian Riedfeld, who's one of my favorite tour reps out on the PGA Tour for TaylorMade. And Adrian did a deep dive with me on how Scheffler got into the driver, and it was way more extensive than I ever expected. I mean, he could have put that driver into play multiple times at the early part of the year, and he chose to wait until Phoenix to do it. He's TaylorMade QI10 Ventus Black 8X in the 3-wood. The utility irons are pretty interesting, Kris.
Yeah.
Because he's Srixon ZU85 in the 3 and the 4. And I always find this fascinating because, one, he's Nippon Pro Modus hybrid prototype graphite in the 3. But he drops down to steel. He's Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100 in the 4. So I mean, and again, he's not a Srixon guy. He does like these utility irons from them. He's a TaylorMade guy. But I'm always fascinated by how guys make that break point, especially when he's using 2 utility irons that they're the exact same. Like, how do you determine like a steel shaft is better in the 4 versus sticking with the Pro Modus 3? And I get it, like 4 iron, you're kind of getting closer into the, towards the mid irons, and maybe that's sort of the breaking point. But again, just like a fascinating part about Scheffler's bag, how he breaks it going from graphite to steel.
Yeah, I mean, without having an opportunity to have him in front of me and asking some leading questions, I mean, I could speculate that it has something to do with, primarily launch conditions. So, I mean, hitting a particular window with that composite shaft versus a steel shaft. It could be a dispersion thing. He could be able to hit a particular shot shape with a composite versus steel. Could have the ability to flight the ball a little bit better with a steel versus a composite, or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, looking at both of those profiles that he's playing, I mean, they're not crazy different as far as just the overall bend profile. I mean, weighting component is obviously something to take into consideration there. But the hybrid shaft that Nippon makes versus a Modus shaft, that you would potentially see in a steel property. I mean, they're going to be roughly for the same demographic of player. So, I mean, it could be something just as simple as that launch window that he's looking for. So, I mean, if he has that composite product in the 3, might be something that gives him the ability to turn it over one way or the other. Start line might be a little different. Like I said, might get a little higher. I mean, characteristically, if you're looking at composites versus a steel part, if weights are equal, composite generally, and again, very generally, wants to launch it a little bit higher. So, it's without looking at it in person or being able to see some numbers, I can only speculate and guess, as everybody's feel is so unique and different. And a shaft at the end of the day is a timing mechanism, right?
Yep.
So if you've got a player that is like Scottie, I mean, something about that particular part times up with him well, that's giving him the result that he's looking for, whether it be, like we said, launch, spin, start direction, the ability to shape a particular shot or create a ball flight that he doesn't get out of a steel part.
Yeah. You typically see, especially with that Srixon, that Z series utility iron, it's a lot of graphite. I would say Scottie's probably one of the first guys I've seen on tour that uses steel in the 4, but it's the way that he drops down. He goes from these really forgiving utility irons in the 3 and the 4, and he goes to just straight blades.
Yeah.
TaylorMade P7 TWs in the 5 through pitch.
It's an interesting
There's no easing into that transition.
No. Nope. No 770 sliding in there. Nope. Just gonna go straight TW blades.
Yeah. And I do find it very fitting that he uses P7 TWs. If you're gonna have a season where people are putting you in the conversation with arguably Tiger's greatest season ever, you use it as blades, man. You're using a set of blades that was designed for Tiger Woods, and you're using them to potentially best his best season ever. So,
right,
yeah,
there's a little irony there.
Yeah, there definitely is, and these just keep hanging around. Other than Scottie, we also see him in the bag of Tommy Fleetwood, and there's just something about those irons that resonates with elite ball strikers, because Scheffler and Fleetwood are right near the top.
It's fair enough. I mean, like you said, they just keep hanging around year after year after year after year. And
I don't think they're going to be changing that profile at all.
I don't know if they can.
I can't see them. Yeah, I can't. It's like people always wonder what's next.
Right.
I just can't imagine them coming out with anything. Tiger never changes his gear. Like, let's be honest. Once he finds a set of blades that he likes, he rarely, if ever, changes. Maybe the cosmetics change, but it would shock me if they change this one up. I think it just stays in the rotation, and it's the true muscle back blade for TaylorMade. And then you've got your P770s and your P7 CBs, and those irons that kind of fit in that middle area between. They're not game improvement. They're definitely better player, but they're definitely not the elite ball striker blades.
Yeah, I'd be curious to pick Matt Bovey's brain and see if there's anything cooking in the kitchen back there.
He's not going to give it up. Of course not. Bovey's not going to give it up. No,
of course not. But it's always good to poke and just see the reaction, and maybe maybe always looking at something, always testing. I mean, does it get re-released as something other than a TW? I mean,
no chance. I can't.
Gonna stay.
Yeah, I can't imagine that it would.
I mean, we had the Roars Protos that came out there.
Yeah, but those irons are so unique because those irons were designed, like, they have subtle differences between the 730s. Rory and Justin Rose, when he was on tour with TaylorMade, those guys had the DJ Protos for Dustin Johnson. So there were some very specific, and the shaping is in subtleties for those guys. But yeah, I can't see him coming out with anything that would be an updated version of the TW. I think it just hangs around.
So I mean, after what we've seen out of Scheffler, in the off season here,
yes, Ask the question that I was going to pose to you.
Yeah. Does he get a set of Scottie Protos or some type of specialty one-off? I mean, obviously you can imagine now that there's a little bit of time to tool the bag a little bit, and he's millions and millions of dollars richer. Although talking to him, that's not what motivates him to play. He just likes to be the best and competitive, which is cool. But it still begs the question. I mean, if he is TaylorMade's star child and marquee player, is there an opportunity to go, okay, like, you are our poster boy. We got to get these Srixon clubs out of your bag. We've got to get something.
Oh, I think that's coming. I think for sure. I think over the offseason, and this is something that I was going to ask you, but now let's just jump right into it, which is he has some non TaylorMade stuff in the bag. He has the Srixon utility irons. He has Vokey wedges. He's SM8 and the 50 and the 56, and then he's got a WedgeWorks 60. Still using the Pro V1, which I think is a really fascinating one. Could we ever see Scottie get into TP5? I don't know. The golf ball is so personal, and Scottie's played. He's been a Pro V1 guy for forever, even though he's no longer titles can't use him for NIL, name, image, likeness. It does beg the question of, like, what is going to change in his bag going into next year. I think you nailed it. I could totally see them coming up with a set of Scottie blades, and maybe it's built on a similar profile to the TWs, but he gets his name on his irons. I think he's earned it.
Yeah.
It's crazy to say, because I always thought that until Rory was ready to hang it up, or he decided to go elsewhere, that Rory was going to be that guy for TaylorMade. But I think Scottie's past him now, and
Agreed.
rightfully so. What do? You give him his own irons. I think for sure. And maybe you sell him, maybe you tease it. He brings him out, and look, Scottie and Rory are going to be playing Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau in an event on TNT in December in Vegas, of all places. You might have to go back for that one and lose some more money, but it could be a really good opportunity, and I think it will be a good opportunity to tease new gear.
Oh, absolutely. That's going to be a gear junkies playground.
Yeah, there will be new stuff coming out, but I do wonder what it is, because I could totally see, to your point, I could totally see them releasing a set of Scottie blades. I could 100% see them teasing out, especially when you have Scottie and Rory. Brooks, he's not a TaylorMade guy. So, maybe with the new Srixon, we haven't even gotten to that. Srixon released a new driver, a new LS at the Tour Championship that Hideki Matsuyama was testing. So maybe we see Brooks with that. Bryson and LAGP have been teasing a new driver. Could they get a prototype out for the Vegas event? I agree with you. I think it could be a gear junkies paradise. We could get all kinds of new stuff that could be teased at that event. It's a perfect opportunity to do it, and it gives the guys an opportunity to test it in a low-key, no-pressure environment and see what happens. And then if they like it, they keep testing it during the off season. But yeah, I think that event could produce a lot of gear storylines.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'd be curious to see how many more wins Scottie potentially would have had if he would have listened to us earlier in the year and made the putter switch
to the Spider
and gone back to the Spider.
Yeah.
Early this season. I mean, what do you think? Does he get another 2?
Maybe.
Because he was in contention. I mean,
in
the year.
I mean, think about if he would have put it in even before then.
Yeah. There's a couple out there that I'm sitting there thinking
about.
A couple
more major wins.
Could have.
It's very possible. I mean, Rory screwed out everybody else when he suggested during the broadcast at the Genesis that Scottie should consider trying out the Spider. By the way, speaking of Rory and Spider, did you see the Spider putter that he had last week at East Lake?
Cool things.
My gosh,
that torched, awesome looking,
torched finish. And I asked TaylorMade if that was something that Rory had requested, and they said no, it's just something that they're looking at. They were looking for feedback, and Rory liked it. Now that's interesting because maybe we get a torched finish at. I don't think we're going to get it at retail. I don't think we're going to get that lucky. But maybe a limited version would be really nice. And they can. It
was pretty sick looking. Yeah, if you have not seen this putter, if you like just cool, unique finishes, and the Spider design has been around for years. It's a staple. It's a benchmark for TaylorMade's arsenal. But the shaping is kind of iconic. They've gone back to that OG kind of look.
Yeah, it looks good.
They've done so much with the My Spider, with the color combinations and the different optics that you can get and the neck offerings. And now they're just like taking it to a next level, offering this torch finish. And I mean, for the guy out there that likes custom ferrules, cool head covers, and just like raw wedges.
That's our audience, buddy.
Exactly. And so
the people listening to this podcast.
100%. That's our demographic. Yeah. Those are our people, and I love them for it. That torch finish, if you are a mallet guy, which I absolutely am, and a spider guy, like that's something that I'm going to have to try and find one of those if those become available for sure.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Speaking of the Srixon driver that Hideki was testing, and I would imagine we'll probably see in Brooks's bag during that match in December. This is a fascinating change for LS drivers. So this is the new ZXi LS. And, you see the two letters LS, which stands for low spin. Mm-hmm. And for years, it was always about just jamming as much weight as you could towards the face, low and towards the face to get low launch, low spin. And we've started to see this trend of low spin drivers that also can be a bit more forgiving if you want it to be. I'm thinking about the Cobra Dark Speed X that has the weight ports, one far forward and one back towards the rear. This has a very similar setup where there is a weight closer towards the face, and then there's one also towards the back. Now, if you were to compare that to the Srixon ZX5 LS, that is the current driver out there for Srixon, that one only has a weight port in the forward position, nothing towards the back. So they're now offering this additional adjustability, the ability to dial in launch and spin a little bit more if you want. So if you're one of those guys that's like wants a low spin driver, but maybe you don't want really low spin, you can potentially put that heavier weight towards the back to help bump up launch and spin just a tad. I like this. I like this design because it doesn't force you to just say, all right, I'm going to have to go low spin, but it's going to be really low spin. So how can I dial it back a little bit? This now gives you options. And I think that's good for golfers.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Cobra, and I mean, you also have Callaway that's kind of taken the same approach with the triple diamond, giving you the opportunity
100%.
to rotate some weight. And I mean, even Cobra's Dark Speed LS, you have 3 movable weights that give you an opportunity to kind of move that weight configuration around to fine tune launch and spin. And I mean, like we've talked about before, the restrictions from, just an engineering perspective on how fast the golf ball can physically leave the face has been limited for years. So now companies are starting to figure out different bonding agents, different materials, how to free up some weight. And then what it is that they're doing with that discretionary weight is really giving you more fine-tuning capabilities with overall performance characteristics of the drivers. So, I mean, yeah, this is just another offering that I'm excited to get in my hands and do some testing with from Srixon. As the ZX series, it was a good performer, but it was just kind of hanging out right in the middle of the pack for what we were seeing kind of in the bays at True Spec. So the shape was there. The feel, the sound was there. It wasn't winning a lot of gunfights from a ball speed perspective. So I'm curious if they've amped that up a little bit and now given us an opportunity to fine tune some launch and spin characteristics. And this thing's going to come out and be, a real contender. Like we saw for years with PXG, right? And the PXG drivers were, kind of a secondary thought for a lot of players' minds. The irons were so good. The wedges were good. The hybrids were fantastic. and then you got into the fairway wood and the driver, and a lot of players kind of got lost in that transition to the long part of the bag.
For sure.
And Srixon, and the irons are, I mean, just top contenders for us year after year after year. And Cleveland wedges, fantastic. The utility irons, like you're talking about, awesome. Hybrids, pretty solid. And then you get into the fairway and the driver and trying to get players over that hump and into a Srixon driver or fairway wood, it's tough. So
Yeah.
I'm real curious with these new offerings if this is going to be something that just comes out and we see something different and go, ooh, okay, now this is a real conversation piece.
Yeah. And we talked about it on the Inside Golf segment. We have a new exclusive, fully equipped Inside Golf segment. If you aren't a member of Inside Golf, go to golf.com/subscription and sign up. It's $39.99 a year. It's pretty cheap. And we're going to be doing some exclusive, they call it paywall content. So we're just going to call it paywall content. That's what it is. But it's going to be exclusive chat every week between the fully equipped crew, just kicking around a topic. And last week we were discussing Srixon being overrated or underrated as a brand. And I think, as you can probably tell, we all picked underrated because, their stuff is really good. It just doesn't.
So good.
Yeah, the irons, as you mentioned, irons have always been a winner. And one of those that I recommend when people ask, like, what should I test? And I hate just doing dart throws because I think it's disingenuous. You got to get fit. But I don't think there's anything wrong if you're, single digit, ZX7, try them out. If you're like a, 10 to 15, maybe even a 20, ZX5's really good. Anyway, so good products. All right, before we get to one of the last topics for this week's pod, I want to let you know that Fully Equipped is brought to you by our great friends, longtime friends at Golf Pride, and their reverse taper putter grip. It's the most crucial split second in golf. You can't worry about if the ball is going into the hole or not if you haven't worried about what's happening at impact. That's what led Golf Pride to design a grip to ensure you're set up to succeed in that split second, the very moment where the putt is decided. With reverse taper technology, it ensures that you have a consistently square face at impact. And look, that's really the most important thing that I want to mention here about the reverse taper putter grip is that it's going to give you a more consistent square face at impact. There are a lot of putters, and we're going to talk about one of them that tout their ability to have zero torque, meaning that it's not going to allow the head to move one way or the other depending on where the ball's hit at impact. But the putter grip is one of those things where if you have one that works, and Golf Pride spent years designing the reverse taper putter grip, it is a piece of gear that can help change your putter game without having to go to a different putter head. And I know there are a lot of golfers out there that say, like, look, I struggle with putting, but I really like putting with a blade. Hand up. That's me. And so you're looking for something that's going to help keep your putter face square at impact. That's what reverse taper does. It has a slim upper hand and a larger lower hand. This is a design that's only going to be found on the reverse taper. That is going to help keep that face square at impact. It has a soft feel with an enhanced tacky texture and a dimple pattern throughout the grip to support traction. Technology that stabilizes both hands. That's what that slim upper and the larger lower is going to allow for the more square face at impact. And they did a lot of testing against parallel style putter grips, which are so common now on the PGA Tour and out at retail, and found that the reverse taper was able to keep this putter face square at impact longer than a parallel style grip. If you want to learn more about the reverse taper putter grip, go check it out on golfpride.com. Own the moment of impact, own the putt. And thanks again to Golf Pride for being a loyal sponsor of Fully Equipped. All right, serial killer. As I mentioned, there is a design that's now starting to creep up in the world of putters that we need to discuss. And that is the zero torque balance design. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
This is popping up now. We've now seen the most recent being the PXG Allen putter that recently came out. We've seen putters designed to help keep the face square longer at impact. The one that really comes to mind for me is the Axis One that Justin Rose helped popularize. And then
Sure.
we've also seen Lab Golf come out with designs that are made to keep the putter head, and they load it up with a lot of weighting in the sole that keeps the head from oscillating at all, regardless of where you're hitting it on the face. But again, going back to what is zero torque balance, because I'm sure people are going to go, God, this is just some sort of marketing BS that's meant to make you think that this putter can do no wrong. But what is it?
Well, I mean, if you go back even further, right? I mean, Odyssey had a toe up design. I mean, Adele has been doing the torque balanced, or a toe up.
There's another one. You're right, Adele
design.
Yep.
And I mean, the lab has, I mean, definitely just caught fire the last few years, and has become kind of the prominent name out there, and has the cool flashy tech, and has the story, and it's kind of taken the putting game by storm when it comes to just the uniqueness and the consistency in which you see it out on tour now, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many players come through asking for lab putters by name at Spec, and
Really?
we're bringing them in. Oh yeah, and we're bringing them into the Matrix. I mean, the popularity is unbelievable, but the design itself, I mean, the reduction of twisting, the ability for the face to stay stable through the stroke type, and I mean, essentially maintain consistency, and has that reduction of twisting, right? So I mean, whether you hit it on the heel, on the toe, a little high on the face, a little low on the face, the head is just stable and doesn't want to deviate from target. So there isn't a lot of opportunity for the head to really go too far offline, just from a design perspective. And that torque balance design, like we were talking about, has been around for quite a while, but Lab has really created a model that is super, super stable, and also has now the attention of a lot of tour players out there, and a lot of amateurs are following suit and just going, yep, okay, this thing's different from an optic perspective, different from, I mean, a playability perspective. And they've gained a lot of traction in the marketplace the last couple of years, but it's solid tech. And if you haven't tested it, if you do struggle on the putting green a little bit, I mean, that torque balance design is something worth checking out for sure.
Does it help you with a specific putt length? I know some of them tout it's really good for putts, 15 feet out, good for putts inside 10. Like who would benefit the most if they're struggling with specific putt lengths? Would one of these benefit somebody over somebody else?
I mean, it kind of depends on the player. So, I mean, if it's a stability game, and if it's a face stabilization game, and I mean, the premise behind it is keeping the face on target, for as long as possible, right? So if you have somebody that is, let's just say, a little yippy, I mean, inside of those 10 footers, having something that is significantly more stable and doesn't necessarily intentionally deviate the face from your intended target, then it's going to help that player. I'm on the other side of the spectrum, to where I'm pretty stable, let's just call it around 12 feet and in. But once I start getting into that 15 to 20 foot range and further, and that stroke starts to get faster and the stroke length starts to get longer, I lose the face a little bit. So for me, I noticed a benefit really when I started to get into that proximity putting range, where I'm not necessarily expecting to make it. I'm just trying to get it into a comfortable range that I can two putt more often than not. And that's where I really noticed a difference, was when I'm using something like a lab, or something like a torque balance design or toe up design that doesn't really do much twisting. That's where I was like, wow, okay, this is some cool tech that I hadn't really thought of before. I mean, being a face balance guy, characteristically, this is going to be something that is, like we said, different, and shows you a little different look as well.
It's also very expensive. I got to point that out. All three of these putters. Holy crap.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah, I know. But yeah, they're all basically $450 and up putters. The three that we mentioned, Axis One, the PXG Allen and the Lab. The Lab's really expensive, but I know a lot of customization goes into that one. Not to say that Axis One and PXG don't have customization, but
I mean, if you put it on the spectrum, right, and you're looking at where should players spend the majority of money on their gear. So
all right. So maybe that's the way you justify it to your significant other or to yourself.
And I have to have conversations with players every day, and it's, I don't want to spend XYZ on a driver or on a set of irons or on a new putter. But I mean, if you're looking at putter, right, and let's just say conservatively, 2 putt every green.
You use it 40 times around, so you're going to get your money's worth.
Well, hopefully you can use it less than 36 times around if you are 2 putting or less, right? It's one of those things, like, if you're putting well, I mean, you're having a much more enjoyable day. If you're off the tee clean and you're putting well, like, the rest just kind of takes care of itself. But a bad day on the greens makes for a frustrating round. Bad day on the tee box or off the tee box makes for a frustrating round. So if you're clean off the tee and you're actually rolling the ball well on the greens, even if you don't see a lot of them go in, but if your lines and your speed are good, it's like, yeah, okay, I hit the putter pretty well today. I putted well. Like, those two things are huge for just the mental component of it, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a putter that people should consider. And
absolutely,
now that you're starting to see more of them in the space, it does. Like, the first question I ask is it going to be the next, like, the new frontier for putter designs? Because you're starting to see other brands pick up on it. So, and I think it is. I think it's going to be the next one. Start to see more of these zero torque balance technology putters. All right. Well, we were going to do a small edition of the Fully Equipped Hotline, but Uncle Gene's not here. I would always enjoy getting his insights on the questions that you guys send us. So if you want to leave us a voicemail for future consideration, do so at 602-935-4974. Again, that's 602-935-4974. Something that I mentioned last week on the pod that I just want to bring up before we wrap it up. Inside Golf. If you haven't heard about it, it is an incredible deal. It's $39.99 a year, and it gets you access to all kinds of cool content. Last week, we released the first of many of these exclusive chats with the Fully Equipped crew, where we kick around a topic. That's going to be on golf.com every week, and you get access to it if you are an Inside Golf customer. In addition to those chats, there's archived instruction content from golf's top instructors. You get $20 to spend for a future Fairway Jockey purchase. You also get a year of Golf Magazine, a free dozen Srixon golf balls, and, oh, by the way, access to the archives. The Golf Magazine archives alone pay for this.
So cool.
For $40, for sure. It is so awesome. I go through them all the time, and I think if you spend $40, you're gonna love this. I promise you. Once you go through the archives, you're gonna be like, damn, this is worth it. And I get free golf balls, and I get access to the crew and listen to them chat about whatever the hell we're going to chat about every week. So make sure you go and do that. Go to golf.com/subscription. And we will, I'll tease it. We're going to talk about content creators. Last week was the big content creator event at the Tour Championship. And we're going to be kicking around, is this the future? Are content creators the future of gear? So I think Serial Killer and I are going to have some hot takes on that. Anyway, golf.com/subscription to become an Inside Golf member. And with that, let's wrap episode 255 of Fully Equipped. As always, if you want more gear goodness from us, check us out on the social channels. We didn't even mention that we have a YouTube. Hopefully you're watching this on the YouTube channel. That's at Fully Equipped Golf on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you get a chance. We're at Fully Equipped Golf also on Instagram, and at Fully_Equipped on Twitter. Thanks as always for listening. We'll catch you next week.